This is revenue marketing raw. No fluff, no vendor pitches. Just the truths your CMO won't say out loud. Featuring Jeff Pedowitz and Dr. Qaqish. Let's go!
We are live, we're raw.
Hey Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We are, we're coming up on a year of doing these.
That's pretty amazing, and we still haven't run out of things to say.
I'd be worried the day that you and I run out of things to say.
We definitely have no shortage of opinions.
Yes, we definitely have plenty of opinions. We also have plenty of facts, and we were talking about, as we always do, we were trying to figure out what we want to talk about beforehand, and we've covered a lot of topics in the last year. But one thing that we were going to bring up a few weeks ago that we wanted to talk about today is data and the fact that marketing's losing that battle. I'm not sure that they were ever winning it, but they're definitely losing it.
Yeah, I think the really big issue is in the future who will own the customer record. And here's the one thing that we know: wherever data about the customer lives, if it doesn't live in marketing is treated as a second-class citizen about access to any data. They are always the second-class citizen gaining access to anything. So I think this could be a real issue. For years, because of marketing automation, marketing has had an overwhelming, extraordinarily rich set of data about the customer. And that data has helped them understand the customer. So moving forward, if they don't own the customer record, how will they know to work with the customer? And I think that the thing that spun this conversation up was the thing with Databricks and using agents.
Using agents and kind of getting into the market with its own CDP.
Yeah.
But we've seen this. I mean, the data lake, whether it's Snowflake or Azure or Salesforce Data Cloud, right, was supposed to solve this problem of aggregating all the data across the enterprise and providing you with one view of the customer. And okay, in some ways it has done that, but it's also put up new silos, because I can't think of a single customer where marketing owns that data lake or warehouse. I've yet to see, a CMO saying, "Oh, I've got a Snowflake person, right? I've got an Azure." It's always IT. Yeah. And so, as IT often does, it has a process. It has operational control, and marketing has to make a request for anything, to get a segment, to pull a list, to do anything. We were just kicking off yesterday with a new financial institution client. And we're like, well, how long does it take you to get the campaign? First response. Well, first we have to go make a request of IT to go get the segment. And that could take anywhere from a couple days to a couple weeks. So we're seeing this, in real time now, 2026. So it's going to get worse. Right? Because if Databricks is in so many different places, if these kinds of companies are going to be doing more to control the data, then how, to your point?
But here perhaps is a difference, right? So what we're talking about, and again, I'm oversimplifying, we're talking about a data lake that uses agents, and the agents are all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So their ability to gather, manipulate, fix, qualify data, those types of things should be vastly improved. But don't you think access to anyone who needs that data should also be greatly improved?
You would think that. Yeah. So, look, if agents can help with enrichment, governance, compliance, sourcing, new segmentation, by all means, but if the governance model doesn't change with it. So if marketing now doesn't have its own pair of agents to go get the very things it needs, but it still has to follow the old process, it becomes worse, really, because you have this whole data lake of intelligence moving forward over here, and then you got the marketer back over here, right? So they can't get to the very thing that they need.
Well, unless we're just thinking, maybe lake is no longer the best analogy for what we're talking about. Maybe it's something that is omnipresent ubiquitous.
Okay.
Everywhere. Maybe that's the role of the AI agents, is to make data, whether it be a customer record or any other kind of record, ubiquitous and instantly available to anyone in the organization that needs it.
That's
I know,
true.
from my lips to God's ears. I know.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, what multiverse, right? Or you and I both love science fiction and stuff. It could be along those lines.
Yeah.
But I think it really does raise an interesting question. Okay, so you have the who owns the data question. Well, that's clear. Marketing definitely doesn't own the data, but does marketing still own the customer? Who owns the customer now in this world where agents and data?
I got to tell you, I think that's one of the problems with corporate America today. Nobody owns the customer. Nobody owns the customer top to bottom. You will have product marketers who will own a customer segment because they want to sell the hell out of their product. But if you take a look at most large companies, there is no single throat to choke when it comes to the customer. Everybody's got a different piece of the customer. And that's why even with all this technology, we're still doing the bombarding, the lack of understanding, and really not focusing on the singular needs of the customers that are out there. So you're right. I don't see anything in this new model that helps us say who owns the customer and who is really thinking about what the customer needs versus what the company needs, whether it be from marketing or sales or support or customer success, whoever that is. I don't see that. It's still an issue.
It's and it's probably more an issue than ever before. And it creates a dichotomy, where we do live in this Amazon, Netflix streaming world. We want things right now the way we want them, but yet we can't seem to get the very thing that we've been conditioned to expect, right, from any vendor that we do business with.
Right. And further, I think that, I forgot what I was going to say, but, I know what I was going to say. Further, if the technology organization in your company owns the data and they don't have a marketing lens, God knows what the data is going to look like, right? Because they have a different perspective and a different use. And again, marketing is not given the value that they deserve with the kind of data that they need. So you put that into someone else's hands who has a lot to do already with other folks to serve in the organization who have more pull than marketing. And I don't think that can necessarily be a good thing. But I do think the question of where will the customer data live? And again, marketing doesn't have all the customer data, but they have some of the richest customer data, right? So it really is about how can we think about these data lakes that now have agents so that we really can bring all the data together in one place in an always-on world where marketing can be making the best marketing decisions, sales can be making the best sales decisions, customer success, the executives, communications, everybody can be making those best decisions.
Well, I think in an ideal world, the way that you and I would like to see it, agents do become the unifying layer, right? It brings these silos together. It should be able to help build bridges and intelligence between the different departments. But the technology by itself, even if it has the capability, without the strategy, the rules, the process behind it, isn't going to get there because there's no shared goal, right? There's no shared incentive. There's no way there's not this organizational impetus to create that change.
I think the more we use technology for everything, the more we have to focus on the customer. And I think this is a great example, so that if and we've said it a million times, we've talked about customer journeys for as long as we have been in this business. And the power of the customer journey, so no matter what part of your organization is touching and interacting with that customer, making sure that's a cohesive journey from the customer's perspective is so important. So we are at risk of certain parts of the organization having more data faster or slower than other parts, and making that journey that much more discombobulated, right? So that collaboration, but the collaboration on the different groups in the company can only come through a customer lens. That is the only thing that will unify. And without that customer lens that goes from here down first, what are you doing with all this data, right?
Well,
your thing faster, your thing's faster. That's it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But I think another thing I think about is unintended consequences with licensing and control, right? So we're seeing this. It's kind of really funny just how we go in a full cycle with software and licensing. So if you remember, before there was SaaS and subscription, we either had an enterprise seat model, we had consumption. Cell phone carriers did the same thing. Like we were like in the 80s and 90s, we paid extra for data until they realized they could monetize the data, and we came back to subscription. Now we're getting to a point where this flat seat-based model in SaaS, when no one's logging in anymore, is going away. We're going back to consumption. Okay, so now I'm a marketer, and IT is controlling the consumption model related to data. So what if IT says, yeah, well, we don't want to pay more for consumption. We're going to cap our limit at some percentage per month. Marketing can't even get the data it wants to be able to go after the customer, right? And do the right thing. So I think we're going to see this like tension, right? Between we already see the tension.
More tension.
This new round of battles over discretionary license spending per month, because we're seeing the software vendors and the AI vendors moving into token and consumption-based pricing as if this is a great thing. Oh, only pay for what you use. Well, now if people don't know what they're going to be using, because there still is yet to be a predictable model on the market.
Right.
What do people do? They go stork mode, right? They stick their head in the sand. They're not going to spend.
Right. That's exactly right. I just think that the world of data, it's always been a conundrum for marketers. They've always intellectually understood the importance of data, but they historically had not always done the best job with having the right kind of data. And there's lots of reasons for that. But I just think that the data picture in some ways will be getting more complex in this age of AI.
No doubt. But again, that in and of itself is a problem. So there's various stats out there, but I think one that we were looking at is of the current CDPs that are deployed out there, 65%, 64% have delivered significant value. Okay, I mean, that's more than 50%. But of that remaining third plus, 47% are citing integration. Another 35% cite skills, under skills on the team.
But is integration the right word anymore?
Maybe not.
With agents, right?
No, you're right. But I guess I was thinking about your comment. Okay, it's going to get more complex. So if we have an adoption problem now, does agents in and of themselves, Deb, resolve that complexity? And do we jump the shark here? Or does it get worse?
Yeah, and I've said this for years. The way we had built corporate America is starting to crumble on the bottom. The way we structure organizations, the way we go about our work, AI is changing all of that. And you're going to see some really, really big changes in those organizational models, how things are done, who does what, and how that happens. I mean, we talked about it before. We had our first person create like $1 billion company just with AI, like one person. Didn't we read a case study on that recently?
We did.
I mean,
Yes.
That's kind of crazy to think about. And so AI is a real forcing mechanism for change. And in some ways, the more that change is forced, the more things stay the same. So I think really savvy CEOs are going to be looking at their organizations and think, wow, what really needs to be different here in this age of AI? It's not just data the way we've been talking about data. It's like, how do you pay for it? Who has access to it? But again, for me, it has to be through the lens of the customer. That is the only unifying factor for an organization. That's the only unifying factor for how all of this technology and all of this AI works together to benefit the organization.
But even in light of that, though, right, I think when most people think about agents, and we were talking about integration, or maybe it's a different word, but agents are running with the systems that are already there with the data that's present. When we think about B2B, like we've had this discussion for a while, like, there is no martech system that you and I know of today that accurately tracks what happens across the buying committee and all the things that happen non-digitally, right? What about all the sideline meetings and the whiteboard sessions and at the company? Like, that's never, like, these people aren't downloading content and talking to LLMs. They're having
They didn't even keep up with everything digitally, let alone everything else.
So
right?
how do you digitize or AI enable or use an agent to get critical information that is not digital? Because there's a big part of us that are still in an analog world, right? So when we talk about agents unifying and building these new data platforms, I still think we're missing a fundamental gap in the architecture.
This is very much like the conversation that we've been having, that AI is taking over the execution layer for every part of the business, right? And what's going to be left is going to be strategic, critical thinking, wisdom, insight, those kinds of things. And so whether you are a salesperson or a marketer, or if you are in customer success, AI will change your job so that you won't be doing all of the busy work. Your role becomes something else. It becomes something that is a higher level that requires wisdom, insight, critical thinking, and those kinds of things. So, and we've talked about that change across the organizations for, quite some time now. And it changes organizations, it changes departments. But again, the lens for everything has to be through the customer. Again, the more technology we bring in-house, the more it has to be about the customer. And your organization from the top down has to have that holistic view, and then allow for those special views for like a specific product marketing role and those kinds of things. But without that top-down customer lens, what the hell are you doing with all of this data? You're going to spend a lot of money to have a lot of data, and you won't be optimizing the use of that data.
And look, we've talked about it, we've advocated for it, we've spoken until we're blue in the face. We've seen so few companies actually truly take that mindset and drive it. So, Deb, what do you think it's going to take? Because we can keep preaching for the next 20 years. I know we will, but
it's competition. It's always been what we call the ankle biters coming into your market and taking your market share away. Then the CEO gets let go. Some of the other executive members get let go. They bring in new leadership that hopefully is more in tune to the world that we are today. That's the way it's always been for business. And I think we're going to see in the next 5 years a huge tsunami of that kind of activity.
Capitalism at its best.
That's right.
Okay.
It's just the nature of man.
All right. So companies get this right. They get customer first. They get data working. They get their multiverse going. What does good actually look like? Quantify it. What would be a checklist of a future state where they're using this data in an intelligent way?
It's omnipresent. I just kind of think that it's like you have this incredible, rich, accurate, up to date by the microsecond set of data through which everyone can do their job and optimize shareholder value. That's what I think it looks like.
If memory serves, you came up with a very simple but timeless model back in 2010.
Which model was that, Jeff?
The revenue marketing journey. So I think, Because for all these years, revenue marketing has been the elusive holy grail, right? Most companies settle into that lead gen, demand gen stage. So we always talk about repeatable, predictable, and scalable revenue at stage 4. What would it look like now? What does omnipresent, ubiquitous look like?
Again, the data that you need when you need it to not just do your job, but to make that business impact is readily available and is useful and is instantaneous, right? So for example, so that you're always having one cohesive conversation with the customer and with the prospect, no matter what part of the organization they are touching. That's way futuristic. I know that's way futuristic, but that's the vision, right?
So we need like a campaign slogan, tomorrow begins today.
That's right. Tomorrow begins today. Yeah, that's the direction that we're going. But, again, a lot of time, technology is such a forcing function to changing business. And we've both been in technology for many, many years, and we've seen it change companies, we've seen it change industries, we've seen it change the world. And I just think that in the world of AI that we have right now, we're just going to have the speed that no one is really expecting, and we're going to have some of the biggest sea changes that we've ever seen in corporate America.
So buckle in.
Buckle in.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ride.
That's right.
All right. Well, until next week, same bat time, same bat channel.
All right. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.